You're talking to lawmakers, you're talking to people in the Diet. How are your ideas being received? Is there traction being gained? Is there attention being paid? Or are people not paying enough attention? What do you think's going on there?
Well, this may be skewed by the kind of people I talk to. So I talk to some people who really are looking for solutions. And I also talk to people who are really not looking for solutions. And so you get a different response. But, when the book came out, it came out in December of 23 and in English. And I walked into a meeting. I came here to do a little bit of a book tour, and I walked into a meeting with a senior official of the Bank of Japan. He had my book. He'd read halfway through it. And he was actually asking me about different proposals for financial reform. And one of the things about the book is I not only talk about the problems and in general, but because of that conversation with Hugh Patrick that we began with, I have very specific proposals about solutions that could be done, and beginning with things that have little political or budgetary cost, which still accomplish a lot. And then you begin to have a snowball effect. You create more companies, new companies. They become a constituency that can talk to Diet members, bureaucrats, et cetera. So there's an awful lot of people who really like the ideas in the book, will point out the political difficulty of doing them. But when Kishida said his new form of capitalism, which is sort of a false advertising, it's the same old form, just actually doing it, that you pay people enough so they can buy the goods they make. Otherwise, who's going to buy them, right? So there was a guy at the Science Council in the Prime Minister's office who was working on a report for the Prime Minister, and had various people in it. It was a superb report in pointing out exactly the right problems. They weren't allowed to specify solutions by the Prime Minister, because if they start specifying solutions, then different ministries are going to disagree about them. For example, the Tax Bureau, the MOF, may now want to say, let's end double taxation of limited liability companies, which exists in Japan, which destroys the whole purpose of them, right? So we don't want them arguing. So and mention the problems, but don't mention the solutions till after whatever election was coming up. But there were guys there who were really, really looking for stuff and really trying to tweak things. There was a proposal for a tax break for angels, which are they fund new companies where venture capital is not appropriate, but they need external money to get off the ground. And so they had an angel tax break that was designed horribly. And there's a similar thing that's designed in France that's very, very good. And they could have followed that. They chose not to. So here's a guy at the Science Council really wanted to work on it, trying to push ideas, but he was weaker than the people in Medi who had other fish to fry. So there are lots of people who really want to change Japan. Some of the most radical reformers I've met are bureaucrats in their 40s who are old enough to have some authority, but not so old as to become jaded. But they go there and they try to push stuff and they try to sort of, let's move the needle a little bit. Let me figure out who do I talk to? Who do I talk to in the Diet? Who's powerful? So they're not only policy wonks, they're sort of politicians in the sense of their job is to design policies and get them implemented. And it is hard. And they've been doing it for years, and they're incredibly dedicated and patient. And there are other guys there who just, they're part of the swamp, and they just sort of do their job and put in their hours and accept the institutions. And, this is everywhere. But in business and academia, there's some politicians, I gave copies to the book because there are sort of policy entrepreneurs of up-and-coming politicians who are looking for an idea that they can stand out from the crowd.